The armbar is the most common submission at all levels of grappling. Gi, no gi, it works from so many different positions. What we're going to show today is the basic armbar from closed guard. Now there are a lot of details to this technique. I'm not saying that you have to hit all of these details every time or that these details are the only way you can achieve an armbar, but the reason we teach such detailed moves is when we're drilling them in class slowly and smoothly without resistance, that ingrains those details in us, so when it's time to hit it against a resisting opponent, we give ourselves our best chance of success. So let's start from the closed guard. If I have access to Dave's arms given his posture, I'm going to try to give myself a mechanical advantage, because jiu-jitsu is all about using large muscle groups against small muscle groups, and so that the smaller opponent can beat the weaker opponent. So I'm going to get a 2-on-1 advantage against Dave's arm. My outside arm, if I'm attacking this arm, is going to make a C-clamp at his wrist. My inside arm is going to come and make a hook with my hand has no thumbs. My thumb's attached to my hand behind his tricep. I'm going to lift my hips, and when I drop my hips, I'm going to drag Dave's elbow about to my belly button. This creates an angle for attack. At this point, I'm going to keep this grip and just rest my hand on Dave's shoulder. This is because if Dave tries to push into me to keep his arm bent, I make a frame that stops him from doing that. Now it's time to attack, now that I have the control. I'm going to step on Dave's hip, pinching my knee in tight. The knee pinches in tight so that if he's going to get his arm back, he has to pull it both through my arm and through my knee. If he's able to get his arm out, we're going to do a different attack, which we'll talk about next. This is the complex part of the movement. 3 things are going to happen at once. Pushing off of my left leg, this leg right here, I'm going to pivot my head toward that knee. As that happens, this leg is going to chop down with my knee pit chopping down into his armpit like I'm trying to heel kick my partner in the back of the head. Looks like this. And so if Dave tries to posture up, you notice that my leg is keeping him down. The other reason we have this hand here is a lot of times guys are going to try to drive back into you and we can stiff arm their face. At this point, this leg comes around in front of my partner's face. I'm going to pinch my knees together and bring both hands to his wrist. Very important that I keep his thumb pointed up. The armbar is a hyperextension of the elbow joint, and so I can't hyperextend it. If his thumb starts to bend, his arm will bend. So I pinch my knees together, pinch my heel tight to my butt, and very gently try to put this foot on the mat. If the foot gets to the mat, that's when you can start lifting your hips, but if you have the other details hit, you should tap well before that happens. So one more time with a few more details. I take 2 hands on one on the arm. Sometimes I will come under this arm just to make sure that he can't use that arm to defend. C-clamp on the outside of the wrist, meat hook behind his tricep. I'm not grabbing the gi here because the gi can move, and I want this to work both gi and no gi. Now, the reason that I lift my hips is if I try to just drag Dave's arm across, there's friction there, and he can try to stop me by anchoring his elbow to my hip. But if I lift my hips, he doesn't know when I'm going to drop them. And so at that point, I can get it right in my belly button. Make a frame. This is a straight arm lock, and so your opponent wants to keep their arm bent. A lot of times they're going to try to drive into you, which is why you want a frame to stop them from doing so. Step on the hip, pinch the knee in tight. Again, if he's able to free his arm, that's going to give us access to another move, which we'll talk about in a second. Pushing off my left leg, I just think about if my belly button were pinned to the mat, I pivot. It's not a shrimping motion because you'll notice that I'm not moving away from him. I want to stay tight so that he can't disconnect from me. This leg comes in front, and I'm going to pinch my heels tight to my butt. Now, a lot of times people want to cross their feet here. It's not always wrong to cross your feet in an armbar, but for this particular armbar, if I cross my feet, Dave's going to be able to push into me. When he pushes into me, he keeps his arm bent and stacks me up. Not the end of the world, but not something that I want to happen. If I pinch my heel to my butt and hang on him like I'm hanging on monkey bars and he tries to do that, Dave's bigger and stronger than me, but it's still a mechanical advantage for me that's going to stop him from pushing into me. Now to finish, both hands come to the wrist. I like to actually give my partner a bro handshake here so that his thumb continues to point to the ceiling and he can't do an escape called the hitchhiker escape. So I pinch my knees together, pinch my heels tight to my butt, and very gently, a centimeter at a time, try to put my left foot on the mat. Again, if we've gotten that too loose, that's when we can start lifting our hips, and you can see the amount of torque that I can put on his arm. Many different ways to do the armbar, but those are some details on the basic armbar from closed guard that I hope help.